randoms keep getting jobs. Don't worry about it. I'ma say it. I can't wait to say it. I love it. I love it. Go.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Not Bland Show, and I'm your host, Dujane Bland, and welcome to a Monday edition of the Not Bland Show, as we're going to do a little something different here. We're going to have on the host of Between the Slicks and the other half of the Power Hour, Mr. Monday Morning Racer, Lee Craft, and we're going to get into this topic of substitute drivers. I want to welcome everybody who's watching on Instagram and LinkedIn now. So welcome to the show. And if you could go to @the Not Bland Show and like and subscribe and share this show. It should be a fun one. And we'll talk about, when we close this thing, what we're going to have on our show Tuesday night. Well, before we bring Lee in, we're going to have a word from our sponsor.
Drag racing fans, check out Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. It's the free, family-friendly fantasy bracket game. Now, after final qualifying at every national event, you can fill out your bracket for all the pro classes.
It's free, easy to click on your picks. If you need some help, just hit the randomizer button to fill in the blanks. It's for fun, stay engaged, and pick your winners today.
And we are back. And Lee, how's it going, man?
Man, it is going exceptionally well. Went out on a camping excursion with a brand new camper with a girlfriend. We did not die by sway of a trailer, and we got into no argument. Setup, teardown went smooth, and the camper that we have dubbed Gertie is going to serve us well. Been doing this for a while, and it's nice to look ahead and think, wow, might be able to go to the racetrack, stay at the racetrack, have my own little pad there, and do all the work that I do from there. But it's going exceptionally well, man. I had a great weekend of drag racing myself at Huntsville, Alabama, Rocket City Dragway, the Outlaw Pro Mods Southern Shootout, along with the Southern Nitrous Racers Association. They combined their fields and duked it out. By the way, a car with a supercharger on top came out on top over all the boys, given the purge of the nitrous system. And we're looking forward to great drag racing this weekend. I know we're going to talk about the Northwest Nationals, but I'll be in Missouri at Mocan Dragway for Nitro Chaos. We're going to have Farm Truck and Asian there. That's going to be quite an interesting pairing, Nitro Chaos, and
Indeed.
Those two famous within the No Prep Kings street outlaw world. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. We're going to have a good show too.
Oh yeah. Man, a lot going on. And yeah, that camping thing looks cool. I really like it. Looks cozy. It might, I don't know. I that's how I want to camp though, right? No tent camping for me. That's not my thing. I want to thank everybody who's tuning in right now, Drag Racing Mayhem. And yes, Scott, surprise.
you know, Dujane, there's an allure, I think, to camp tenting, and then it quickly fades away.
Yes.
When you are dealing with the intimates. Part of me wants to do the AT, the Appalachian Trail, in its entirety, and try to do it in one go or split up in quarters or something. But you're going to be camping overnight, and you know, humanity just is not as tough as it used to be, especially with Western civilization. We have lost some toughness over time.
Yeah, we have. We have and love our amenities. Sometimes a little bit too much. Yeah, we've gotten a little bit spoiled here. But with all this stuff going on, and it's not, I know people are thinking, oh, well, it's because of the John Force thing, but I want to thank Caleb Cox for posing the question over the weekend. We chat a bit, and he posed the question of, should NHRA teams have multiple licensed drivers on staff like F1 teams? And when you think about it, you've got teams like Cruz Pedregon. He's one team, one driver. These teams don't get paid if they don't show up to races. If your driver goes down and you're not able to put a driver in the car, then you don't get paid. Team doesn't get paid. And that's that, payment is important, especially for the guys that are crew on these particular teams. On top of that, with this being said, we want to keep in mind that there's not a laundry list of ready to go. I'm going to pick my phone up and call said quarterback, and because I'm in a countdown situation and I might be able to win a championship, to bring him in and put him in as a starter and say, hey, I can win with this guy, not a guy that's going to be a seat holder.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So what do you think about having substitute drivers and having them basically under contract with the team?
I think, one, it's a matter of culture within the world of motorsports. When we talk about substitute drivers, relief drivers, it's nothing uncommon in the world of stock car racing. If you're in the Craftsman Truck Series, you're in the Xfinity Series, you're in the NASCAR Cup Series, it's not uncommon. I think it's become a bit uncommon now because there are less injuries, but I can remember watching in the early 90s, and drivers, it seemed like, once, twice a year, a driver take a hard lick and they've got broke ribs, or they've got a broke wrist, or they've got a broken collarbone, and they're going to start the car, bring it under pit road under a caution, and they're going to hop out, and another driver is going to get in, or a driver is going to get in and qualify it. And, as they're sick or not doing well and they still are in the race. You also see this type of thing happen certainly with F1, or look at the world of sports car racing, where different drivers hopping into the seat is the norm over a 6 hour, 12 hour, 24 hour type of event. It's even planned and staged, and like, you've got rules that you got different people that are going to hold the wheel. But within drag racing, that has not often been the case. And I think it has to do with the nature of drag racing, in that many of these individuals, they own that ride. Like, the driver is the owner. Unlike when you see F1, NASCAR, or sports car racing. In NASCAR, even Dale Earnhardt had a relief driver after his incident at Talladega. They put a guy in. You have someone, more recently, I can remember, I think it was a Joe Gibbs driver. So you've got, Richard Childress' own car with Earnhardt. That's a Joe Gibbs' own car, obviously Joe Gibbs Racing. And you've got the mechanisms turning in such a way, with sponsorships, with ownership, with everyone else involved. That car needs to be out on track. That car needs to be visible for the marketing partners. That car needs to go out there and earn points even for the team. So that shot isn't necessarily one of the driver. But I think in NHRA, first we got to get past a culture of the driver who is owner saying, that's my ride, you're not stepping into it.
Right. I agree with you on that, because in this day and age, being that in previous years it wasn't available for a substitute driver to earn points for the driver of that particular car, I applaud the NHRA for making that change, for the simple fact that too often guys and girls need to be protected from themselves. And if they don't feel that they can take time off or not be in that car for various reasons, you end up getting a driver in there that's partially injured, that's sometimes might be doing a little bit too much and more than he or she is really capable of. So I definitely give them credit for enabling this. Now, my thought process in how to execute this is one of two ways. So when we look at the landscape of drivers, you can call upon a Jack Beckman, you know, a guy in Phil Burkhart, Jack Wyatt, possibly, maybe a TJ, you know, a Tommy Johnson Jr. I don't know if a guy like Gary Selzy would be interested if he was asked. Not sure, but that list ain't big.
No, it's not. I mean, you named several that I would name. I think also of someone such as Kevin Kinsley. Throw him out there. He would certainly be a candidate. You also have a pool of names there that you're looking at a situation. Let's take, for example, Brittany wasn't in the car at Norwalk, but you had a lady driver of similar height and stature from what I can tell, just eyeballing, in Krista Baldwin. She was not driving. She could have possibly hopped in to that ride and had it visible in a different way if they wanted it. I think this is also a situation with Old World Industries, though, and other partners such as Monsters. They probably deemed it best that it not even be on track. Granted,
Right.
Again, that goes back to the culture matter. Different. They, with their partners, in meetings that we are not privy to, they had conversations, and I'm sure what was discussed is what did transpire.
Yeah.
But the list is short. Back to what you said. The
short.
list is short. It is not a long list of people who you can call up. In fact, if you call up someone, more than likely you're calling up someone that is in a part-time role to step in your car, that's out there occasionally or fills a seat occasionally. I think the list in Top Fuel is even shorter than in Funny Car.
Right. I do too. I see what you're saying here, Drag Racing Mayhem, but with the simple fact they are allowed now. I come to I learned that it is not any more than 8 races that they can earn points for said driver, and then that stops. So they have to be strategic, and of course, if you're running for a championship, you also have to be strategic on how many races, obviously, that person can race for you. And I get it. The headline is set driver 1, but that's still, those points still go to that substitute driver, and that car is still out there earning points towards a championship, especially if they're in championship contention. He says also NHRA teams can hire drivers as it is right now. I doubt they would be able to go on and hire a backup. Now, this is where my next thought goes to here. So there are many teams who have the ability or could have the ability to send a driver who wants to either double license or maybe even someone new. Maybe it's someone on your crew. Maybe it's someone on the outside that you've seen. I don't know. Maybe they're running sportsmen, whatever the case may be. They show interest. You could send them to a Frank Holly drag racing school. They sign a contract being that they would and cannot race for anyone else, would be under contract for said years, 1, 2, whatever you want to deem that to be. And obviously, you don't have to pay that person. They're on standby. Okay? They're on standby. Could you give them a little bit of something to be on standby? Maybe. But I don't think anybody who would have an opportunity as a backup driver would want said payment for not be doing anything and just being a backup, right? Now, But
I just to what you to where you're going, to what you're saying, and to what Drag Racing Mayhem just mentioned. Well, you don't hire just a relief driver. So, when we're talking about a relief driver in the sense of, example, NASCAR Cup, typically there's someone that was already in that garage. They just ran the truck race or the Xfinity race.
right.
That type of situation.
Right.
Or they already been knocked out of the Cup race. For example, a classic scenario there, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's out early. I believe it was at Texas. Then Kyle Busch has an incident. Kyle Busch is mad, upset. He leaves his Hendrick ride thinking the day's done. Dale Earnhardt's like, hey, I'll hop in it because they got it fixed. And he goes out there and he earns some laps in a Hendrick car. And lo and behold, months later, he's a part of Hendrick Motorsports. So we're talking about a different process when it comes to relief driver, but you already have examples of teams, as you've been saying, as you've been advocating, that have licensed people ready to go if they needed. We've just never seen it happen. I think of Matt Sackman on Antron Brown's team for many years. He's a licensed top fuel driver. And I think of Gary Pritchett. Gary Pritchett, from what I understand, is a licensed top fuel driver and worked for Capco many years. I think the moves that he's been making recently, he's been behind the wheel more often for his shot to drive and to let his star and capabilities shine, if you will. So it is not uncommon that the way it works, you have a licensed driver on the team doing another job, but they're never really showcased as that licensed fill-in dude or dudette.
Right.
But I think what we're talking about is trying to make that more apparent, because it seems like it's almost a hush-hush thing in the NHRA that, that guy over there, yeah, he's torquing he can drive too. Because I was shocked. First time I saw Matt Sackman behind the wheel. Here, it's 2 years ago, I believe, Virginia Motorsports Park, testing after the national event on Monday. Here comes Antron Brown's Matco Tools car. And, well, I'm like, okay, Antron's about to make a hit. And then I see Antron in street clothes. And I'm like, what's going on? And I go and I look, and it's Matt. I'm like, oh, well, this is interesting. And I talked to Antron a little bit later, and actually a lot of what he talked about, he is implementing now with Angel Sampei. Talking about the driver development type program. I think the foundations of it was that relationship with Matt Sackman, him being licensed, him being on the crew, and keeping his license current from time to time by taking hits in the top field dragster.
Right.
So there's the foundation of it. Not just Angel Sampei coming on the scene and in an A fuel car. The thought had been there for years in advance. So you do have teams with licensed drivers on the team. They're just not known. Also, it's interesting that one of the individuals, to kind of show how this process is not very quick, and not quick in the sense of drag racing. Well, the one guy who's done driving relief is in a relief driving mode right now. And I'm referring to Austin Prock. A couple years ago, he relieved for Clay Millican, and technically he's in a ride as a relief driver right now. So the team that is operating, even kind of how we're discussing, is John Force Racing.
Yeah.
But their pool got depleted.
Yeah, that's the problem. And the reason why I say that expansion and possibly teams investing in sending people to school to be licensed in whatever they want to be licensed in, for the simple fact that the pool that you have, no disrespect here, but you guys are old. I mean, how long, right? How long? And it's kind of like, to me, the pool of drivers that can step in is the same thing as the pool of tuners. There's not a whole lot of up and coming. Now, that could be also another thing of what you talked about. There are people that are learning. It's just hush hush.
I think there is that. You also have to have people that are willing to train, such as Medlin, out there working with already a very accomplished individual in Johnny Lindbergh, but giving him some insight to nitro tuning in particular. Look, I think a lot of it boils down to a scarcity mindset, in the sense of scarcity of numbers because someone's scared to lose their job. And
isn't that weird?
They're scared one way or the another, whether they're tuner or driver, that someone's going to take their ride or someone's going to take their position. And they are, in the long run, affecting the longevity of the sport and its quality.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird to me that people would think that. And yeah, I Jordan Vandergriff is definitely one that should be on the list. Just in the sense, for instance, what we're talking about as far as, let's look at Funny Car, he's not seasoned yet. So that may be a guy that you do keep in house and you allow to get laps so that he would be ready in case of a situation of that matter, if that's what Jordan Vandergriff wants to do. But it is very weird to me to have drag racers, whether you're a driver or tuner or car chief, whatever it may be, to feel like they are looking over their shoulder, like they're starting quarterback and the backup's in the waiting. And if he goes out and performs better than me, that I might not get my job back. That's strange, in a sense that you don't really ever see those types of changes, I would say, when a person is injured or sick and you have a substitute.
Again, back to where we began, I think it is a culture matter. It would take some time, but driver relief study within NHRA drag racing would be an interesting topic to study out. Mm-hmm. There haven't been, in my opinion, or just off the top of my historical recollection, that many relief drivers within the NHRA to pick up a deal and move it forward. I think notably, you've got Pat Austin, if I remember correctly. You've got Phil Burkhart filling in. Matter of fact, most of the times the roles of someone filling in turns out to be a longer position afterwards.
Right.
It seems. Then that bolsters the, scared to lose my role and job type of situation. But yes, I think we should definitely see more licensed individuals. These teams should be looking at the pool of people, and there should be, at least, if there's not a driver development program in that we're going to fund you to run A Fuel, to run Alcohol Funny Car, to run another class and waiting in the wings for your opportunity with us or another team, teams should be licensing more people and trying to grow the pool.
Yeah. Now, that's a good question. That's a good thought, because let's just say you put Julie Natus in substitute for, let's just say, Brittany, and it's a 8-race deal. Won't be back for the rest of the season. 8-race deal, and you don't have a ride, and you may not have a ride the next year. How long is someone wanting to sit as a backup driver?
Ask Matt Sackman.
Yeah, that's a good example.
I think it's one of the best examples. Ask Gary Pritchett.
Yeah.
Again, you've got someone like Matt, you got someone like Gary. They have made different moves for many different reasons for their career. And there comes a point that, yes, I am only spinning my wheels and I'm not getting any further to the goal that I had set for myself. So, racers want to race.
Yeah.
And crewing and being around it is great. But, here recently, like Gary Pritchett, for example, he's got more time driving. He's had 2 rides in a Randy Meyer A-Fuel dragster here and had runner-ups both times, and both times running up to Tony Stewart. We already got a rivalry back in the A-Fuel ranks of part-time A-Fuel drivers between the McPhillips camp and the Randy Meyer camp, Stewart, Pritchett, and there's a lot of things intertwined there for sure.
A lot.
That I don't think we need to unbox in this very moment, but that's all very interesting that that's the case. And I wonder if Gary's going to be in a top fuel car at Martin, Michigan for some match racing, because Krista alluded to we're trying to get one other driver for 4 cars of Sean Reed, and I think it was Sean Reed, Larry Dixon, herself, and one other car. Well, what other car might that be? Maybe Gary will be in it because he was in it the year prior doing some match racing.
Yeah.
So, again, I think ultimately, though we've started this discussion, hey, what about relief drivers? I think the best way to get relief drivers is you have out in NHRA drag racing a true driver development program from the teams that are in Mission Foods professional ranks.
Yeah.
And we really don't have that right now. You have a driver development program, but it's not directly connected to those larger teams. The driver development program, really, it's A-Fuel. If you start looking at the stats of who have stepped into the top alcohol dragster ranks, and then even go further and look at the injected nitro ranks, you are seeing that let me learn the ropes, let me go very quick, very fast, and let it slow down to be able to go to the next step, whatever that is.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I said I believe that class deserves a little bit more, and that goes to changing up the modeling for national events so that particular class and the alcohol classes can get the highlight that they deserve. Because I agree, I think that is your development. That is where you find the next whoever you want to label them as, and that's where your young drivers come from. There's no other better way to do it, really, because especially the nitro injected in both are similar, gives you the same feel. You get a chance to get laps and get used to that before, stepping up to the big boy leagues. You saw Scott said maybe the fuel team should copy Richard Freeman. Maybe, but I think the days of 4 cars on a team are over, though.
We may have an issue here, though, that's far deeper. We got Drag Racing Mayhem asking, well, how long is someone going to wait in the wings? Well, they might have to wait a very, very long time because of the nature of drag racing. Ron Capps, it's Ron Capps Motorsports. Antron Brown, it's Antron Brown Motorsports. You're looking at John Force Racing, Tony Stewart Racing. Most of these people, they own their ride. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's not someone owning and they're out of the seat and they're plugging people in, for these rides. And also, there's only 16 spots.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to develop a driving program around 16 spots compared to 40, compared to what's the starting field in an F1 race? 20 cars?
Yeah, I think so. Lately? I think so, 20.
20. Or you look at something like the sports car world where you have multiple classes on one racetrack with ranging from 40 to 60 plus cars at times.
Yeah. Yeah. It does. It does make it hard because there really is only a certain amount of seats. So
there's only a certain amount of seats. Granted, this rolls into, and we're going down the rabbit hole, obviously, here at this point, and we started from driver subs to now driver development programs. Now the field, it is only 16 spots. What if, though we keep the integrity of the 16 professional people have qualified, the 16 quickest are qualified, they're going to earn points. But what if those other cars on property, because we've been having here recently more people than the spots allowed, what if there are consolation races in the NHRA program, which would need then to be a situation of remodeling the national event, which I have been championing for a very long time now, that it needs to be reworked.
I like that. I like that. There could be a consolation, consolation prize there. And that would give not only more laps, but it would make it very interesting for the fans and for the drivers, really. I like that. And again, like you said, we've been saying this for a while about revamping the national event model. And I think that would be a huge start. Drag Racing Mayhem says, in my opinion, NHRA needs a charter system like NASCAR to make ownership more valuable. So this way owners will feel more open to hire drivers. What do you think of that?
I think we first just need more partners outside of drag racing, bringing a bit different mentality. Like it would be great, Michael Andretti, if there's ever any fire to that smoke that it burns in the NHRA, they would bring a different mindset to the NHRA. And I doubt they would just be hiring some name that's already there. You would probably find someone that has been waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
And they're able to step up in that type of ride. Granted, if I'm Michael Andretti and I'm considering a team right now as competitive as it is, where do I get elbow room?
Yeah.
How
you get elbow room in funny car.
I showcase my marketing partners on my marketing platform and I lose out and don't make the 16 spots? So I think right now the NHRA might be a victim of some recent success in having full fields. The NHRA now needs to think beyond just the 16 spots of the sport and show a showcase of even those who don't qualify to bolster the ROI on the marketing platforms with those cars.
That makes sense, especially with Top Fuel basically being extremely top heavy at this point. And, we've talked about this before. If I'm going into a class right now, it's funny car because it's a little lighter. Now, it doesn't show that. It doesn't show that when we talk about the Northwest Nationals here, but that class is usually the one that's short. We have way more Top Fuel cars than we have funny cars at this point. So that would probably be your best bet. And yes, somehow, some way, you got to be able to market to people so that they can see their return on investment. Otherwise, they're like, well, if I'm out and I don't make it, then I don't get seen. My partners don't get seen. And I don't know if I really want to go down that route. Could be a waste of money.
Right. I think Pro with the Pro Superstar Shootout showcased this well. They took those that did not qualify into the 8-car field and put them together in a 1-car field, funny car versus Top Fuel. Make that type of scenario your consolation race. I think that would be great. Typically, right now, I don't know about the Northwest Nationals, but we would be looking at, 4 to 6 cars every national event, roughly, I think. Norwalk, it would have been more type of, situation. If there's not enough funny cars, then work it out. But also, if we want more nitro, and let's be frank here, the NHRA is slanted towards nitro. I love Pro Stock. Don't get me wrong. I love Factory X. Please do not misunderstand me. I love the alcohol ranks. I can show my desire for those by look at my content. I don't film Top Fuel. I film those guys. I want them to be showcased. But the fact of the matter is, what sells the ticket is nitromethane. How do I know that? Because it's all based on, if we get 2 runs in, we don't have to give you your money back of the nitro ranks. So what about a third nitro class and plug in all those nitro drivers into something else? How about nitro fuel alter to the style of like War Wagon and what Hartman along with Wilkerson did? And we have another nitro class. Why not?
Yeah, I think that would be good too. I mean, you can't go wrong. You really can't go wrong at all. I think anything extra only bolsters the product. Just have to, retool some things to figure out what's going on. Drag Racing Mayhem says Nitro Pro Mod. Could you imagine?
I would love to see that. I think you're going to see that play out in Nitro Chaos first. Here's the issue with Nitro Pro Mod is every time people experiment with it, it does not go well.
Yeah.
And I think back to, you have one of the most frightening incidences in a door slammer ever, with, his name is escaping me right now, first to 200 miles per hour in a door car, Canadian, if I remember correctly. Anyway, it was Nitro Coupe, Super Chevy show. I believe it was in Topeka. Massive engine explosion, nearly killed him, barely could get him out of the car. And it was a situation where, they're running more and more nitro. And yes, that run, they dipped into the record books, and it was one of the first for a door car to go, as quick and as fast as it did. But nonetheless, it literally threw the crank out of it, and he was trapped in something that wasn't designed like a funny car to get out of a fiery situation. And then you've got the incident like Scott Palmer had. And that was a very serious incident he had. So it hasn't quite been figured out. I'm certainly glad that Scott is got another one and is willing to campaign that. That program, here's the purpose of it. Scott has been adamant about it. It is to put on a show, but also to be one that is the first to go 300 miles per hour in a door car. That's the purpose.
Yeah.
It's not about creating a new class or anything like that. Again, right now, if you want to do Nitro Pro Mod, if you are like Andy Fangman with his Nitro Camaro that he's got, if you are like the War Wagon gang with Kevin Kinsley driving, it is in Nitro Chaos. It certainly fits the rules there. Bring it out, come run it, and develop it.
Yeah. You'd have to definitely. We want it to be safe. So that's for sure.
If I may say, Drag Racing Mayhem, you have Top Alcohol Dragster at divisionals, certainly, and you have people who don't show up at divisionals because the divisional tracks usually don't promote their stuff well. Yeah. And even though Nitro is a draw, you've got to also be savvy in your promotion. Or if it was just an 8-car field, people are like, it's just an 8-car field, I'll just go to the national event. That's 16 cars, because people count cars as a sign of success and just don't go and enjoy a drag race for whatever it is. Also, you have the issue of you would be putting the top field teams back into a regional divisional type point system. Why would they go run anything? Now you can get more savvy and make projected test sessions, for example, at the tracks that can handle it. But I just don't see anything like that happening. I would love to see it, that you see top fuel cars at a regional, whether it's testing or whether it is earning points, but you're going to take the sport back in time in a direction that most people don't want to go.
Yeah. That's the caveat to all of that. I mean, got to be able to retool and go forward. And you're right. I don't know why people don't. It doesn't matter whether it's 8, 16, 10, doesn't matter. It's like cars are cars, right? Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense with that. It'll be interesting to see how all of this happens and what happens going forward, especially with these driver development deals. And it with what we have here, it just shows that need to invest more in young drivers. These older drivers that obviously can drive, very good drivers, that pool isn't going to be there forever. And you have to start festering and nurturing the new pool of drivers so that we're not caught in a situation where there's not a lot of people to choose from. Especially, we're not just talking about injury. We could talk about sickness. Any of that is possible. So it will be something that we'll continue to watch and continue to work toward and keep putting things out there and ideas out there for the NHRA to listen and hopefully slowly make some changes.
I think changes are happening, but teams have got to think differently.
Yeah.
I think more than the NHRA, people look at the NHRA and they put a lot of blame on the NHRA. I disagree. In being in it now, for the short time that I have, I see more of it on the competitors and the drivers and the teams than I ever have.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too. It's about being more available, willingly available, and understanding the importance of their presence, not just being there and just being a body, but actually being able to allow folks who want to showcase you, want to put you out there, being willing to do that, more open and willing to do that. That's very important in it all. Because without it, no one really knows you. And that's what we're trying to do, not make it this niche of a sport, but to take it to where, like John Force, doesn't matter who you are on the earth. You don't even have to pay attention to drag racing, but you know who he is. And that's where we're trying to get everyone to be at.
I'll go down a short, brief list. People want throttle wax.
Yes.
The NHRA didn't take that away. That's the teams. Yes, thankful for the teams that still do it, but nonetheless, they used to all do it.
Yep.
And it had, again, I know why, and they don't have to do it, but it is a part of the show.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily need long, smoky burnouts anymore. That's not on the NHRA. It's more on the teams.
Right.
You had NHRA having to come up with a rule pro stock. They have to turn the car around so you can see the motor. If it was up to the teams, they'd turn it the other way. Okay?
Yeah. I don't know what they're hiding, though. Like, it's not like it was.
Again, you can go down the list and you might want to say the NHRA this, the NHRA that. And I'm like, the team's this and the team's that.
Yep.
So teams, stop saying what the NHRA has created as an atmosphere, and you change the atmosphere yourself. Because there's a lot of things the teams did down at the pro shootout. You can still do it at NHRA national event, but I don't see you doing it.
Yep.
I've never seen a driver just toss t-shirts out into the crowd of a NHRA pit, but they did it down at pro. Why not at the Northwest Nationals?
It's the same, right? Doesn't matter what you're doing. It's the same.
I mean, I get it. Maybe you can't sell T-shirts at your trailer. I mean, now you can. You get by the little booth that's approved and everything. I would like to see that loosened up and it be a little better. That booth is very expensive, especially for a small team. But nonetheless, doesn't mean you can toss out some free ones. No one's stopping you from that. Right. I doubt if you toss free T-shirts out, an NHRA gray shirt is going to come out of a trailer with, a siren and write you a ticket for throwing a free T-shirt out. If you did it at pro, why don't I see it at the national event?
Exactly. Agreed. Again, they've got to get out of the box, stop being so uptight and loosen up a little bit. It's important. It's important for their growth and the growth of this sport.
Why can we not figure out cameras in the pits? Why can we not figure that out? Flo had them, yet the mics were apparently cut off, and NHRA had one event. They advertised it, and it was going to be on NHRA.tv. I haven't heard anything since then. Why is this a problem? You are professionals. You are in a public place by people buying a ticket be showcased. I don't know if it's a team issue, if it's a personnel issue. Figure it out. Highlight four teams. One in Top Fuel, one in Funny Car, one in Pro Stock, one in Pro Stock Motorcycle, and tell them you are at our event and our fans are going to see you work on it. You don't like it, pack up.
Right. Because you know what? They mic up guys in the NFL. So why can't we say, okay, this is the week we're going to mic up these teams right here this week and rotate it? Would make it a lot easier on everyone. And again, bringing new eyes to the sport and growing it, something that we all are trying to do.
If you would, bring up Drag Racing Mayhem's comment with pro in there.
Right here.
Right. Because at the pro race, they had their own investment at stake. It's their event. They had to make sure people were satisfied. Very wise, Drag Racing Mayhem. Very wise.
Bingo.
Now, would it not be wise to also realize that your biggest stake in the game is on the biggest stage, the big show that is the NHRA, and make sure everyone's satisfied, whether they contributed to the teams or the NHRA themselves?
Right.
I like to look at it this way. They went down in Florida and partied at the cool uncle's house because mama, though, would let them party. They just don't want to do it there.
Yeah, agreed. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to break.
Move on. I'm not getting invited anywhere anytime soon.
Hey, this is what it's all about. Speak truth. We ain't telling no lies on this show. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Northwest Nationals.
Drag racing fans, check out Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. It's the free, family-friendly fantasy bracket game. Now, after final qualifying at every national event, you can fill out your bracket for all the pro classes.
It's free, easy to click on your picks. If you need some help, just hit the randomizer button to fill in the blanks. It's for fun, stay engaged, and pick your winners today.
We want to thank our sponsor, Drag Race Bracket Bonanza, for helping bring this show to you guys. The Northwest Nationals is a race that seems to always be a little bit light. We've got 14 Top Fuel cars, 16 Funny cars, 18 Pro Stockers, and only 13 Pro Stock motorcycles. In the alcohol class, there's only 11 top alcohol dragsters, only 7 top alcohol funny cars, and the one thing I noticed on the alcohol list, no Julie Natus.
I'm not shocked by that. Randy Meyer usually does not make the trek out to Kent, Washington whatsoever. It has been a long time since they have competed there. You see that national event definitely have greater West Coast representation, obviously it being on the Pacific Coast. I surprised that it's not a full field of dragsters, not shocked about top alcohol funny car. That's a whole nother rabbit hole that we could go down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we need to go down. Top alcohol funny car has got serious issues elsewhere. Frankly, when it comes to top alcohol dragster and top alcohol funny car, if I may, Dugenay plug 2 of my Between the 6 episodes, just go search the one with Jackie Frick and search the one with Sean Bellemere, and you'll learn a lot of why it is how it is right now.
Yep, I agree. It's unfortunate. Sorry, guys. The boys have spoken. Mama's home.
I'm surprised my girlfriend's dogs haven't barked behind me yet.
Mama's home, so the boys are speaking. I agree with you on that. It's unfortunate. Yes, you guys need to go check that out because there's a lot of good gems dropped in both of those episodes about this class. It is going to be a short field in most of the pro categories, at least 2. And this is a great opportunity for individuals who got a case and have a case that can't get rights to get a case of the get rights here with 4 races left to go. Here's our Top Fuel points here all the way through 12. Lee, who needs to get a case of the get rights starting this weekend if they want to have a chance to dance in the playoffs?
Well, I think the one that has voiced it the most, and he is always honest, he is always open, he will tell you what is on his mind, and that is Josh Hart. He was on the NHRA Insider podcast with Brian Loans, their most recent guest, and he was very clear on it was time for a change, it was time for an addition, and that they want to be not only competitive but win a championship.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And this race with 14 top fuelers is a great opportunity for someone to take advantage of gaining some points without having an opponent in the other lane. I'm looking at, first of all, I'll talk about Tony Stewart. Tony has to be more consistent at this point because there's really not many points separating him from Josh Hart. Josh is only I believe 117 back of Tony Stewart. You look at Sean Reed, car has been very consistent all season long, and they just have to go more rounds. Another car that if they find and get a case of the get rights, especially this weekend with a short field, they could easily get themselves in the top 10. And if any of those 8, 9, and 10 trip up and go out first round, they could find themselves trying to fight their way in to the playoffs.
Absolutely. You know, you look at there with Top Fuel, certainly I think Tony Stewart, I don't think there's an issue with his driving. He knows how to drive these Top Fuel dragsters. He does phenomenally well in the A Fuel cars. There is something, I don't know what it is. I imagine there just has to be something with the vehicle dynamics from Leah to him that is they just haven't found the repeatability yet. And that's what they've got to find. That car has gone out there and run quick and run fast. They just got to do it in a repeatable fashion. I still am holding to you will see Tony Stewart earn a NHRA National Wally in 2024. Frankly, I'm surprised we haven't already seen it.
Me too.
Talking about that he needs to be, I'm not expecting him to be a contender each and every week that there's a national event, but right. I am surprised that team is not performing better where that car was with Leah in it. So again, that's why I emphasize, I wonder if they're still just trying to figure out repeatability with the vehicle dynamics that are at play.
Yeah. This is a good question. Will Brittany miss the countdown considering she didn't fulfill the participation countdown requirements if she were to fall out of the top 10?
From what I understand in the rules, yes.
So that would mean whoever would that mean that the person that was 13 would get the let's do this here. Let's look at this real quick. So so the person that was 13, let's say she falls into the 11th spot.
Right.
Does now Sean Reed go to 11 and then whoever is 13, which I do not have, go to the 12th spot because she did not fulfill the requirements?
Well, that depends on if they have attempted every qualifying pass or not. And I assume beyond Sean Reed, you are not looking at an individual that has attempted every qualifying pass. And of the individuals that we're looking at, Brittany Force would be the one that now she is going to need to point herself in.
Yeah, 100%. That it's going to be a tight race. And with 4 races left to go, if somebody gets hot, like I said, this race here is very important for Top Fuel with the shortage. somebody's got an opportunity to really take advantage of this, get hot at the right time, and possibly gain some points, some much needed points that could really catapult them, pretty high, especially if those in front of them drop out early. Not a good look. Says, I have a feeling Leah takes over the car in 2025 again. Tony might just be a one-year deal. Maybe.
I wouldn't shock that you'll see a two-car.
I would be shocked at that
operation in the future. And Leah was adamant that she's not retiring. We can expect her back in that car in one shape, form, of another eventually.
And he's, yeah. Let's look at our funny car ladder here. It points through 12. Who needs to get a case of the get rights here if they want to have an opportunity to dance in the playoffs?
Well, to be a serious contender, I mean, look at who's 12th. I don't think we would be expecting Cruz Petragon to be 12th. They have got to get that. And look, there's times that car runs well, and they have run well, but there's still not win lights coming on deep on Sunday.
Right.
So Cruz Petragon, they've certainly got to turn that program around. Chad Green, car has run well. Again, win lights just not going their way at times. Would like to see them move up, because you've got in here, when you get past, I mean, think of it, Austin Prock, Bob Tasca, we're obviously talking about people all the way to Alexis DeJoria, Chad Green, that are running the full schedule. Blake Alexander, there he is 10th, and they're not running a full schedule. Paul Lee does not run the full schedule. So you've got people nipping at your heels, or that you are behind of, and you are running a full-time schedule.
Yeah. One thing I have learned talking to Caleb on the show we had, I think it was 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Yes, 2 weeks ago. They're kind of in the Dave Richards pool. They've got a new playbook, new parts, and they're trying to learn how to get that combination to work with said car, and they just haven't figured it out yet. It seems as if Jim Dunn has kind of figured out a little bit of what they're doing. You see Dave Richards finally figure out and make some clean passes, A to B. They've got to figure it out, and the funny thing is, they're not that far back to jump into 10th. And to be honest with you, if you really do put it together, you could find yourself at least in number 9. And I don't think you go further than that. Well, 1.5 in Indy. So anything's possible. You could get to 8. I mean, Alexis DeJoria hasn't exactly been very consistent either. So if they can get it together this weekend, they might have an opportunity in the next 4 races to at least get themselves as high as 9.
I agree with you. Now, we definitely, you're in that time of the season. You want to give yourself a booster shot and feel good about yourselves. But this is a track. Look, I don't know what the odds are, and if I could bet, I would put my money on Austin Prock and John Force Racing. John Force Racing and Austin Prock, they have something recently for Pacific Raceways, and I would have my money on him to get that win in Funny Car. And look, I get it. There definitely needs to be some people step up. Last year, the winner there was Tim Wilkerson. So it can produce some different winners. The final was Tim Wilkerson and J.R. Todd. Daniel Wilkerson and J.R. Todd would certainly love to have a good day there.
Indeed.
So going on the West Coast, weather being a little different, no telling what that first true Friday night under the lights qualifying session will yield for those teams. It is going to be an interesting show, and it is a neat little facility. If you are a drag racing fan, you need to take the time to visit. out there at Pacific Raceways and take enough time afterwards. Don't just go for the race. There is so much beauty, whether it's going on the Pacific Coast or checking out Mount Rainier, to enjoy while you're there. But it's going to be a beautiful sight to see the candles lit. And I imagine we're going to see some reestablishing of track records there.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you. 341 possible there in Seattle from Bob Tasca.
Well, as usual, it depends on weather.
Right.
And I have not looked at what the weather is going to be, the forecast for Kent, Washington. I'll ask the Google machine here, and we'll see what we get for the evening. If it's right, you don't know. You don't know. That they are saying, let's see, Friday. Oh, they're saying Friday by 9 p.m. it should be like 76 degrees. So 6 p.m. When's that first session start? I haven't looked at the schedule.
I know it's late. I think it's like 8 o'clock.
Okay, let me take a look real quick. Let's look at the schedule.
I think it's 8 o'clock.
Let's look at the schedule.
Dave says no.
Here at an event schedule. Oh, let's see. Friday.
Do you think the conditions aren't going to be there, Dave? I'd like to know what you think about that.
Wow. So the last qualifying session begins at 9:15 p.m.
Crispy.
So roughly 9:15, you're looking at, they're predicting 76 degrees, 51% humidity. That might be an issue.
Yeah.
It depends on track temperature.
That's going to be the key.
How hot did that track cook through the day?
Yeah, that's going to be big. Here we go with Pro Stock. I don't know if Matt Hartford's going to find it. It seems like he has fallen into a black hole and is trying to find his way out. He's definitely a person that needs to get it together with 4 races left. He's definitely has a shot if he can find the horsepower and find what he had, last year. He can get himself in there. I mean, it's very tight from 9 to 12. So you see Derek Kramer got his way in there as well. Who's your person that's got to have the case of the get rights here with 4 races left?
Well, in a class where the rules are made up and the points don't matter, no. I can agree, Matt, sure. But also, Matt was number 1 seed going into the countdown last year, and he didn't come out with a championship.
Right.
Erica was able to turn it around. When it comes to the case of the gets rights in Pro Stock, I think it is a matter of people that are higher up.
Okay.
And a situation of, you need to get all the momentum you can and roll into the countdown with that momentum. I know it may sound crazy, but I'm going to look. I look at Aaron Stanfield. He needs to have a weekend and continue to have weekends, and he needs to surpass an Erica and a Greg in the point standings, I think, now rather than later, and get momentum built. Aaron is a championship contender, but we've been saying that for several years now, but then something falls off and we don't see him in the conversation at Pomona.
Right.
I think Aaron Stanfield, sitting good now, needs to be a bit greedy and get him some now.
I can agree with that. Especially, I don't think people realize, yes, it points reset, all that nonsense. But at the end of the day, if I'm in third or second, those people behind me feel a little bit of pressure because I'm there for a reason. I'm running well, likely getting at least to the semifinal round, maybe even runnering up or winning. It puts pressure on people when they're coming from behind and they look up and they see you 2 or 3 or even number 1. That I agree. Momentum is important, and he's definitely picked up some momentum. It just needs to carry on through at this point. I like that pick.
Hey, you know as well as I do, watching stick and ball sports, momentum is real. It's harder to see it in motorsports.
Yeah.
But especially drag racing, but you can see that college football game and that team is down by a couple of scores, but they run it back after a kickoff and momentum just swings.
Yeah.
And they're able to win that event even though they were down. Momentum is real. It's hard to quantify, it's hard to measure, but it can be felt, it can be sensed, and it is real.
Yeah, I agree. Lastly, Pro Stock Motorcycle. This is kind of strange.
Why we even talk about this dude's name?
Yeah.
Why?
It's 13 bikes here, and everybody pretty much from 8 down, except for Richard. There's 13 bikes, so some of these people aren't even going to be there. Now, I think most of these on this list, with the exception of LE, let me see. Yep, everybody else is going to be there. I don't think there's a Chris Bostic either. I have to check the list, but it's only 13. I'm just going to say that. So there's only 13. I don't think there's any case of the get rights going on. I'm just going. No. I am going to say this. It is time for Matt Smith to show up on race day. Okay. Now, I don't care how it's taken. I really don't. But the bottom line is I'm tired of talking about what he does in qualifying because I know he can do that.
Yeah.
All right. I know it. That goes for his bike. That goes for Angie's bike. That goes for Gianna's bike. They can do it. But I need him to show up repeatability and show that same tenacity on race day because for whatever reason, it tends to go awry on Sunday.
Right.
And that's the difference in beating Gage Herrera on race day. I don't care what you do to him in Mission Foods. That's cool. Got a little extra money. But it needs to happen on race day. I need Matt Smith to find that consistency and translate it to when the day that matters, and that's Sunday.
I think that's a great observation. I look at this list, and though I know we're speaking of people that need the get rights, I think with Gage Herrera, it's a case of don't do wrong.
Right.
And that's it. It's a Gage Herrera show right now. Vance and Hines, just don't do wrong. Yep. If I am everybody else, let me switch into some serious test mode and arm up for the countdown.
Yeah, I agree. Ain't nothing you can do now. You know what I mean? It is what it is. If you get around a few people here or there, positioning honestly just doesn't matter at this point. He's got a nasty lead on everyone.
Right.
So
I don't think they're just eyeballing. It does not appear that there is a mathematical way to even win the regular championship at this point.
Yeah, I don't see it. So that's that. I think it's going to be regardless of the counts, it's going to be a great day. And I think, let's just say this. It's not because, we're hurting in any way. Some people just don't make that track far west. It's kind of like Epping in some ways.
Yes,
some people just don't make that. It's just kind of out of the way. And logistically, financially for some of these teams, they just don't make that trip. It's nothing about or has anything to do with the state of the NHRA and the Pro Series. It's just one of these things that this is just a track that, for the most part, some folks just don't see the value, and dollars to cents doesn't make sense for them to go out that far.
I will say to that, though, there are some things the NHRA could do to bolster the attendance, and it does go back to pay, and that is pay up front. What you get from rolling on the property as a top fuel dragster, as a fuel funny car, really the biggest elements of the show. I love everything else. Do not misunderstand me. And I'm passionate about many other things in drag racing, but the show is at an NHRA national event, nitro methane. Yeah. And as I skim the entry list, I think, well, if there was a bit better payout up front, you said we were at 14 top fuel dragsters. Is that correct?
14.
Right. So to make a full field, we just need 2 more. Where's Rob Passy and where is Greg Carrillo?
Yeah.
If
they're out that way.
If there was a little bit better payout up front, maybe Greg Carrillo, maybe a Rob Passy would be there.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's the justification on the bikes, though?
Oh, I think right now they just I firmly think you're in a situation, though they may not be vocal about it, they feel like they don't have a shot to win it all anyway right now.
We're going to have to talk about that on the Power Hour at some point.
So why not? Why waste my money?
Yeah, I've got questions. We're going to talk about that tomorrow for sure.
And Gage is riding exceptionally well. And when I say riding, I don't know what Vance and Hines saw in Gage to hire him. And I don't say that, why did you hire him? I know that I don't see it. I don't understand what a rider is doing well enough to eyeball and go like, okay, that guy's riding well, or that person's got more to learn. I cannot help, even though with his background, though, and what he's accomplished elsewhere, say he's riding that much better, making that bike that much better. Therefore, a Matt Smith and others are not able to knock off a win every now and then.
Right.
If it's the case, we're talking about like the Nolan Ryan of Pro Stock Motorcycle. And we're seeing it right now, and it's just that hard to believe.
Right.
We're talking about the Wayne Gretzky of, we're talking about the Tom Brady, the Joe Montana. It's that level, okay?
Right. Yeah, I know that he does an excellent job just from my being around other forms of bike drag racing, that he does a great job of not having there's not a lot of wasted movement with him.
Sure.
You know what I mean? He gets into his position. He is one with the bike. There's not a lot of moving and shaking. He's very methodical with that. I ain't never seen nothing like it.
Right.
And for it to be repeatable as much as it is, you're right. I mean, if that's the case, and if, obviously other things have to go right, but if that's the case,
sure.
Yeah, this is the Jordan of Pro Stock Motorcycle.
It is. I mean, did the chassis get struck by lightning or what?
Right.
I mean, it is just because the team bikes. I mean, he is, and that's another. Like, I look at it and I'm like, well, maybe it is Gage, just like purely Gage, and I'm fine with that if that's the answer. And
right.
Is as wild it is to wrap your head around that. If that is the case, great, because the team bikes aren't there
right
where his bike is.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Richard's bike is a different style chassis than what Gage is running. And I think that's where they've had the issue of trying to get that bike to where Gage is. I could be wrong, but I believe that it's a different style chassis.
Why are we not buying another chassis?
Yeah, because I mean, they could be 1-2, just lighting it up. Maybe they're looking forward, though. Again,
Maybe
if I'm standing still, I get caught.
right.
And that sandbagging stuff, I ain't buying. It's not sandbagging. They're trying stuff to stay ahead of Matt because they know he's coming.
Matt will work you out of a championship.
Yeah, they know that if they sit still and they don't try things now in the countdown, it could be one of those things where we got hot way early and Matt may find something. They know that the bike is capable of being fast. And I know it doesn't look like it on paper. The winds don't show up. The round winds don't show up in some cases. But at the end of the day, we've seen him repeat it in qualifying. It just has to happen in race day. And I think they know that too.
Right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, and tell everybody where they can find your work at. You do excellent work. He's like our Where's Waldo of drag racing. You could, if you're hosting a race and it's a good one, you might see him there.
Just might. Well, just search Monday Morning Racer. Just do it in Google, and you'll just find just about all the platforms on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Definitely go over to YouTube, subscribe, and watch the content. Getting near 10,000 subscribers. Been working towards that goal for a while. Getting close. Going to happen here in the month of July, I firmly do believe. And if anyone's out there willing to partner for some event coverage, let me know. We'll go cover just about anything. That's not even just drag racing. We'll go in the world of motorsports even deeper.
Indeed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Tuesday, we have Sean Langdon on the show. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to have Elon Warner on to talk about a up-and-coming cool TV show. And we're going to talk a little drag race bracket bonanza as well. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning into this show. You could be watching anything and everything but us, but you choose to be here with me, and I appreciate that. Again, this has been the Not Bland Show. I am Dujane Bland, and until next time, we'll see you tomorrow on the show. Good night, everybody.